Hello, friends. Father Scott Vanderveer here in the great outdoors in some Adirondack beauty with a message about something that nature can teach us from the flow of a river. I learned recently something about the Mississippi River that I never knew before. The Mississippi, I found out, is a young river. It's a fairly new river. And as it makes its way from Minnesota down to the Gulf of Mexico, it does what all rivers do. It meanders. It has its bends and its turns. If we were to ever draw a river as just a little sketch on a piece of paper, we would naturally draw something that meandered. We wouldn't draw something that was a straight line. That would be a canal. If we want something to represent a river, we're always thinking of a meandering body, something that goes in one direction and then wends its way around an obstacle. We'd always be looking at something that has body and character to it. What I learned about the Mississippi River that surprised me is, as a young river, it changes its course greatly from year to year. Some rivers are not young, they're old, like the Colorado River, which, if you can picture the great deep Colorado River Canyon, is carved very, very deeply into this bedrock. That river has forged its way down, 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 down through the centuries. But the Mississippi is different. It is a young river that is continuing to carve out its riverbed. And so the Mississippi River has made some big changes over the years. At times, it has gone as much as 15 miles to the east or the west of where it lies today. Well, because the United States government and people who lived in the Mississippi River Valley had noticed that the river had changed its course greatly over the years, which had the power to hurt the economies of communities along the river. If you can picture what it would be like for there to be a whole riverboat town right there on the bank of the Mississippi, and then have the river move beyond its banks and go in a direction to the east or the west and wind up leaving that town essentially a ghost town by the edge of a ditch, you can understand why people would not want that to happen. And so in 1954, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers decided to fix the river in its current location. No longer would the Mississippi be allowed to meander to the east and the west. And so now we have a set course for that river. There's a lot of advantages to that, but it means that never again will the Mississippi determine its own course. Some river historians have created a series of maps that help us to see just exactly where the Mississippi River has flowed over the years. And these maps are remarkable. They show us a beautiful pattern of ebbing and flowing, of meandering and wending. It's amazing to look at. The colors that represent the different stages of the river over the years are beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, and give us a chance to see that God is at work in many, many ways, including in the beautiful patterns formed by the passage of time and the wending of river paths. It makes quite a metaphor for all of us. All of us have lives that are like rivers. Our lives are not forged straight ahead like the Erie Canal. Our lives are filled with bends, filled with turns. Our lives meander. And that's why we have good years and bad years. We have times of great fortune and times where it feels like we're just getting hammered by one thing after another. One of the things that we recognize about rivers is that it's in the bends, it's in the curves of the river that all the interesting contours happen. There's that amazing bend in the river at West Point. Hudson River has this amazing little jut that it does. And I'm told that it was always a military fortress. It was always a place of military advantage because of the shape that the river took. And that's so true for our own lives too. A lot of times in a year where we feel like we're getting hammered and hammered and hammered by one bad thing after another, it feels like our life takes a turn to the left or the right, to the west or the east. But if we're paying attention, we recognize that it is the bends in the river that provide sometimes the most fodder for the way forward. They provide the learning and the fuel that is going to help us in a much later stage of life. If we were ever to pay attention, we would realize, oh my goodness, my life really has taken a sharp veer from where it was. I now am in a very different place than I was a few years ago. Many of us are not in the job right now that we went to school or to college for. My degree is in journalism, and I'm a priest. I have other friends I have a friend who's got a degree in theology, and she is a high-level financial administrator at Harvard University. We never know where it is that the river of our life is going to meander. And we can be a little bit ashamed at times that we're not where we thought we would be at this time in life. But what use is that? What use is it for us to say, I am embarrassed that my river is not a canal that goes straight in the direction that I expected? What river does? Rivers are not canals, and life is much more like a river than a canal. It meanders. It goes where it will. The great theologian Barbara Brown Taylor said that what we really want from life is for it to feel like a train ride, where we get on at a station at a specific time, we travel a certain distance, and we get off at the platform we wish to travel to. She said, but life is not like a train ride. It's much more like a sailboat, where we follow the winds and the currents, where we lean into the breeze that's assailing us. We have to work with what we're given. We want it to be a train ride, but life is not like a train where you get on one spot and get off at your intended destination at the exact time. It's much more like a sailboat. So let us be willing to take a lesson from the Mississippi River. Just like Mississippi, our lives are young. They're not old. Most of us watching this have only been here for 20 or 30 or 40 or maybe 80 or 90 years, but that's not a long time, not in the big scheme of things. No wonder we're still learning. No wonder our lives continue to meander through all the different contours, all the different types of soil and rock formations that are ahead of us. May we be like the Mississippi, brave and mighty, but also willing to course correct whenever God invites us to do that. May we be open to all of the meanderings ahead of us and be grateful for all the meanderings behind us. May God bless you all.